Amjambo watazamaji wa Chiamero TV. My name is Godfrey Motiga, your host. This is Fireplace. I hope you're subscribing to Chiamero TV on Facebook and Chiamero TV on YouTube. Today we host the Executive Director of FIREPLACE International, Mrs. Chidi Baidoo. She's here to talk to us about FIREPLACE International, and she's also here to tell us what she has been doing to serve children through a community-based partnership. Welcome to Fireplace. We inspire the community and even the society at large. Mrs. Chidi, FIREPLACE International.
Yes.
Kenyans are asking themselves,
yes,
how did this start? Where did it start from?
Basically, the name FIREPLACE, like it reads.
Yes.
If you take a drop and maybe put it in the water,
Yeah.
It causes some ripples, and that ripples causes effect.
Yes.
So that is why we want every child we touch will cause ripples effect.
Yes.
In the community where they come from.
All right.
May it be a child, may it be a caregiver, may it be a grandmother. So we want them to cause ripples.
Yes.
I can give a little bit why ripples.
Yes.
My background is I'm a social worker. That's what I trained in the university, and I worked with various non-government organizations.
Yes.
Within and out of Kenya. And in the year 2001,
Yes.
I had one of my very close friends who came from this county, and she also came up from a very well-off family, and she contracted HIV virus.
Okay.
And because of the stigma that surrounded HIV then, the family isolated her because they didn't want people to know that their daughter was ailing of HIV.
Yes.
And I became like almost her friend. I would leave Nairobi every Saturday during my weekend and come and spend time with her in Meru. And I'm sure you know those early years, there was a lot of stigma that was associated with HIV.
Yes.
And in early 2002, there was a newspaper article that was rating Meru among the counties that the prevalence rate were very high.
Yes.
I think we were at a rate of 40%. So we were overtaking the other districts then,
Yes.
which now they are counties. That is Kisumu and Thika. And here I was having a friend who is ailing and
Yes.
isolated in the house because the family, basically because of the stigma, didn't want anybody to know she was there.
Yes.
And at one time I began talking to the family about her situation. And that's how I was banned from visiting her, because
Yes.
the family felt, where did you test her to know that she has HIV?
Yes.
And I was completely banned from visiting her. And I only came to know a few months later that she had died. And the family had said she had moved into the US.
Yes.
It was actually the brother who told me she had died and buried quietly. And that was a wake-up call for me.
Okay.
That here I am, armed with all this information on prevention and interventions.
Yes.
On HIV.
Yeah.
And then I'm seeing my people die.
Yes.
And I felt a burning desire that I needed to come back to Meru and basically educate the community on HIV prevention.
Yes.
Initially, I didn't think I was coming to Meru to stay. I thought I was just coming to help my community, maybe 1 year,
Yes.
and then go back to my job. And that's how I left Nairobi and came to Meru.
Yes.
And here I am today.
You are here today.
Yes.
In a nutshell, maybe you should tell us what does FIREPLACE do? FIREPLACE International.
So initially I said we just came in as providing education for prevention.
Yes.
To the community, because again there was a lot of stigma that surrounded people living with HIV.
Yeah.
And basically, because when we came, the first thing I did was take separation from my place of work. Initially it was 1 year separation.
Okay.
It was a very tough period because my parents, but I would say specifically my mother, could not understand how you leave a very well-paying job.
Yes.
And you're coming back to the village and you're telling us you just want to educate your people.
Yes.
So it was a very tough thing, and she's late now. God rest her soul in peace. In fact, one of my regrets is I wish she stayed longer, or one of my wishes, a conversation I'll have maybe with God is, should have stayed a little longer and know that it was not a mistake. Because I think she felt, how can you leave your job to come back home? To do something that cannot be seen. You know, there's just something I'm describing that is in my heart I want to do. But she couldn't see what is it that you're saying you want to do. But you know, on the physical, she couldn't see it. And it was very tough, but I had to come. And I first did a baseline to just get to know what do people know in terms of HIV. And the findings were very interesting. Some people said the government need to do random check. If you're found with HIV virus, you know, like a cow shed. So you'll be picked and be put like a concentration camp. Then you ask the person, suppose it is you, what do you think should happen to you? And that was the scenario around that time. And when I went back to Nairobi, I felt somebody has got to do it. Because there were no NGOs in Meru. Why? Because we are categorized as, you know, most NGOs work in arid and semi-arid areas. And Meru, they feel you're okay, agriculture-wise you're okay. So there was a need. So there was no non-governmental organization in Meru at all doing any interventions on HIV. So I felt, here I am, with this knowledge that I have, and here are my people who are dying out of ignorance. I can do something about it. And I came, started by community awareness, created a lot of awareness. We were crisscrossing this county from the larger farms to Yaki to, I mean, everywhere.
At that point, your mom started now supporting what you do?
When I came on ground, because again, she had no choice but support me. So she was supporting the initiative that we're doing. In fact, she actually offered to pay rents for the first facility that we ever had. And as much as we did the awareness, the next thing came in, how can we test, get to know our status? So I had to train as a VCT counselor, and we started testing people. After they test, then people were like, what next? So we started forming support group. If you tested positive, then we form support group for people living with HIV. If you tested negative, then we put you in a posters club, because then you need to find a way of protecting yourself not to get the virus. As we went doing that, the next thing was so many children were being abandoned. Why? Because the parents were dying of HIV. And of course, remember during that time, there was no treatment. So we had so many people who died because of the virus. You go to the hospital, you're tested, people would panic, the health would deteriorate very fast. So we had a lot of home-based care programs because the hospital also overwhelmed. It's almost like the current pandemic we have.
We are talking about which year was that?
This is in 2002. 2002. This is 2002. Then we were coming across all these children who were being abandoned. And now we started finding why the children being abandoned. It's because when a parent is dying, the other family members feel the child also has HIV. And the other family members are afraid to take a child who is going to die anyway. So we had all these children who are being abandoned. So one thing was leading to the other. I'm trying to now bring in the programs of Ripple. So one thing was leading to the other.
From HIV now to abandoned children.
We're having children who are being abandoned. And I have one very memorable case of a young child who the mother died, and the grandmother didn't want to take care of her because she was afraid she's going to die anyway. And here I am feeling my faith couldn't allow that. And I'm feeling I'm not God that we can take life. So anything we can do to prolong the life of this child, even if it's a minute, we'll do it. So we went to the grandmother and requested her to take care of the child. So they were supposed to be admitted in the hospital. And because she couldn't stay, she went back home and suffocated the child. So the child died overnight. So the following day we went, she didn't come, so we went and found, oh, the baby died. Then we went to the morgue, and the baby, you could tell the child was suffocated. So we went to the children's office. We know a child who had been killed. And the children's officer dismissed us that time and said, you know, there are so many of these you can't handle, you know, and where do you start the investigations? And that's where now the seed of child right was planted in me. Because I was asking myself, this child is very innocent. This child deserved to live, you know. Who can talk for this child? So the seed for child right was born in me. And during that time, we had now so many other parents who are dying, and their children were being left behind. So I remember this lady who was terminally ill in the hospital, and she had twins, and her dying wish was if somebody can take care of her children. I remember one day I went to church, and after church, something in me told me go and check on Fatuma in the hospital. And I went to check, and when I went to check, she was so bad, and she kept saying, please take care of my children, you know. So I went to the ward where the children were, and the nurses were, if the mother says you can help them, please take them. So here I am with 2 babies. I haven't told even my husband and my children I'm bringing 2 babies.
Where are you taking them?
I took them home. So when I got home, I got into the car, I'm like, oh my goodness, I have 2 babies. My husband is in the house. So I first left the kids in the car. I went to the house, and I told my husband, you know, this lady in the hospital with twins. She was like, yes. You know, her wish is that somebody can take care of the children, and like and I'm thinking maybe we could help her. If she gets well, fine. If she doesn't, we can find a way of getting someone to help the children. And after deliberation, he says, well, if you can help them, let's do. I said, actually, they're with me in the car. So we went into the car and found the kids, but they were very sick, very sick. And so we had to look for a way of maybe helping them get treatments. So we ended up in Milimani. Here we are, we didn't have money for deposits for the hospital. And I remember, of course, you know, they are very strict. I'm sure Dr. Getabi remembers that story. The question with us was we had a choice to make, either have treatment for them or we stand a chance to lose one of them. And eventually we went and they accepted to stay there, to keep them. We didn't know how we were going to raise a fund, and the point I like to give is most times we look at our pockets. And God wants us to first to help, then the resources will follow. So we put them there, and they were in the hospital for almost 2 months. We didn't know how we were going to pay the bill. My house help went to the hospital to take care of them. And within a month, someone came up and had heard about the story and offered to pay the bill. And that's how the kids were.
Just a good Samaritan.
Just a good Samaritan, yes. So here I am now with 2 children in the house. And within the period, another one had come, and that's how our babies rescue home, which is now called New Start Center, started. Yeah, so that's a birth of New Start Center. So basically, Ripples now we have various programs. We focus mainly on children. We are interested in protecting and promoting the respect for the rights of children and women. Of course, we have women protected, and then the children are also protected. So we protect and promote the respect for the rights of women and children. So we have the New Start Center, which is our babies rescue home that basically takes care of babies below 3 years. We also have a shelter for girls. We shelter girls survivors of sexual violence or forced child marriage, or the ones who are running away from FGM, teenage pregnancy, severe physical abuse, etc., etc. We also, when they're with us, we do witness protection. We do legal redress. We do the medical, psychosocial support, trauma treatment, etc., etc. when they're with us. We also have access to justice program, where basically we help women access justice, especially issues of domestic violence, cases of child maintenance, paternity, etc., etc. Then we also have our biggest program is our sponsorship program, where we help children to access education. This is our largest program, and we have children all the way from primary to the university, and we also do a lot of awareness creation within the community on child right protection. So generally that's what we do. I was born to a teenage mother. My mother was 17 years old. I'm sure you know traditionally boys were given priority in school, but my mother was given a priority because she was a very bright child, and she was impregnated by her school teacher, and tried to, I think she was very devastated because it was quite a big letdown from my grandfather,
Okay.
who had so much faith on her at that time. And she actually tried to abort twice. She made 2 attempts, and it backfired. So I believe I'm here because God designed that I should be alive.
Okay.
And the second time, it was so bad that she even ran away and abandoned me. So I basically grew up, my childhood, I grew up with my grandmother.
Okay.
So I grew up knowing my grandmother was my mother. And until in my primary school, when my mother kidnapped me from my grandmother, I say kidnapped because I think my grandmother had refused. And I didn't get to know my story until I was in the university. So I can't quite say my background influenced what I do. But I think as I continue doing this, it's a long story, but I only got to know the truth when I was done with the university, actually. That's when I got to know my background story.
Okay.
And having said that, I am not a bright child in school. Those of you could even be watching, I went to Kangaroo High School.
That is in Embu?
In Embu. I was when it was a mixed school, when it was the Kangaroo High School, the last A-level group. And I scored a Division 4, which is equivalent of a D today. But that did not prevent me from pursuing my dreams.
Yes.
I know most of us, a simple exam we do determines our destiny. But I was determined that the exam was not going to determine my destiny.
Yes.
Because even at the family level, I was branded. One of my close relatives was doing very well in school.
Yes.
And they always graded me with her. Every time the results were out, my parents would not look at my grades, they looked at hers.
Yes.
When they saw her grades, then they would determine where I am. Based on her grades.
That did not affect your dream in life?
It really affected me when I was in primary. When I was in my entire school life. My parents,
up to university?
Up to when I went for my A-level. I didn't get grades to take me to A-level. But I took myself to Kahaga Girls. And I found Mrs. Geshoga. And I told her I didn't have the grades for Kahaga Girls. And I convinced her I can play basketball. And I'm very good in drama. It's a long story. Yes. But eventually she needed to see my parents and told my parents, this girl doesn't have grades for this school. Yes. But she's so convincing that I'm convinced I should give her a chance. And wanted to know if my mother can pay the school fees. Yes. And my mother wanted, because she was a cop. I come from a family where both my parents were cops. Okay. Wanted me to go and become a cop. And she had done all the background. So I went. I still didn't do well. My academic were very down, and I would say even me getting the grades, exams are funny. God just performed a miracle. Because I was a man, in high school, you have this one's project here, Mr. So-and-so. Yes. Project here. So we used to be called project here, Mr. Mwenda. Because you meet with us for extra tuition. I was among the last 3 from 5 and 6. The last 3, either I'm in the last or second last or that last, and my classmates know that. Okay. But when I did my exams, somehow I want to believe God performed a miracle. And the tables were turned around. Yes. Even my principal, who was Mrs. Geshoga then, always says miracles. This was just miracles. Yes. And I made it. And that changed how my parents viewed me. And that was a turning point. All right. And the fact that I made it, my mother could not believe it. And I think that changed her. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now, you are the executive director of Ripples International. Yes. What have you been able to achieve as an organization so far? As a founder and the executive director, I would say many times you may not even see like you're doing much until people who are outside there come back and do reviews and tell you how much you're doing or how much impact you're making. But if I can review and say, judge myself, I think we've achieved quite a lot. And I think we have moved from just offering the service to also influencing change. We are now looking at child and legal framework that exists. As I said, we are mainly focused on issues of child right protection and promotion of respect for the rights of children. Yes. So there are certain legal framework the country that should be having. Yes. Or should be ensuring they're enforced. Yes. So we are now looking at the legal framework. And a few years ago, we held the state accountable for failing to enforce the laws that protect girls.
Okay.
We went on a constitutional claim, which we refer to 160 girls, and challenged the state, specifically the Kenya police, for failing to do proper investigations.
Yes.
This is a case that you will find that was it was a landmark case and set precedent on girls' rights. Okay. And is one of the cases that is celebrated not just here but internationally. Yeah. And in 2018, we had a mention in the UN, UN Council sitting in Geneva. Yes. Profiled 160 girls as one of the best practice on girls' rights. Okay. Not to mention hundreds and thousands of children that have passed through us. We have various graduates who are serving the nations in their various spheres of influence around the country. We have provided rescue, shelter, or education support to over 16,000 children in Meru, Isiolo, and Tharaka Nithi counties. Yes.
Those are the counties of focus.
These are the counties of focus. Right now, counties of focus is Meru, Isiolo, Tharaka Nithi, and a little bit of Samburu. Okay. Not much of Samburu, just a little bit of Samburu. And I would also say, apart from that, I think we've also provided employment opportunity. So we are supplementing government efforts to ensure youth employment. So we have over 18 staff members that work with us, just staff, and then several other volunteers that are attached to us. One of the other things I like to inspire and tell the young people outside there, don't wait to get money to follow your dream. Okay. Sometimes I hear people saying, if God gave me $1 million today, and my challenge is, what have you done with the 100 shillings that you have? Because if you cannot account for your 100 shillings, if you're given $1 million, you'll not be able to account for it. You start with 100 and then build up and get to 1 million. Because when Ripple started, we didn't start because we had money. We started because there was a passion and there was a dream. And over the years, God has gone ahead to build up on what we have. So don't wait until you build up and get all this money. Focus, this is my dream. This is what I want to do. And don't look at the qualification that you have, because God does not call the qualified. He qualifies those he has called. All right. And I give an example with Moses. He was not eloquent. Yes. But God called him. And I felt he was a smart stammerer. He cannot be used by God to bring change. But God used him. So he qualified him despite the challenges that he felt he had. So let's not say I don't have the qualification that you need, or you don't have the resources that you need. If you have a dream and you're convinced for sure this is what God wants you to do, then go ahead. And my last one, I would say that sometimes we feel maybe the problem is too much. When I look at what we're addressing, right now I was reading yesterday and I saw an article where Meru was rated, in the last 6 months, we have had over 7,000 girls who are teenage mothers. Just in the last 6 months, I saw that article the other day. And we can look at it and feel, oh my goodness, this is so huge. There's nothing we can do about it. Yes. There's a little book that is, when I'm down, because we also get down and we get kind of discouraged.
You read a lot?
I don't read a lot, but I try to read. All right. There's a little book that's always been an inspiration for me. Okay. Wangari Maathai, the hummingbird. And there was this huge fire in the forests, and all the birds were disappearing because the fire was just ranging, and it looks like it was going to consume the whole forest. Yes. And the little hummingbird, all the animals were disappearing because the fire was consuming the forests very fast. And what the hummingbird did was to go to the river, pick just a little bit, come and put a drop, and it kept doing that. And the other animals were standing on the edges and saying, what do you think you're doing? What you're doing is so little. I mean, this fire is so huge, you can't quench the fire. And what the hummingbird said was, I have to do what I can.
The little that you have.
The little that you have. So my inspiration to people is, don't wait until you have that $1 million.
All right.
Start with the 100 shillings that you have.
With that background now, women and children who face these kind of challenges, gender-based violence, abandoned children, what are the steps they're supposed to take to benefit from this program?
We are open. One of the things I would say is we are not the primary duty bearer. The responsibility of protecting women, protecting children lies with the state.
Yes.
So we have various government line ministries that are tasked with those responsibilities.
All right.
And what we do as an organization, we just supplement or complement the effort of the government, who are the primary duty bearers on this.
Yes.
So if you know of a child who is maybe being sexually abused, or a teenage mother who is struggling, or a baby who is being abandoned, you can contact us. Either you can visit our offices.
Yes.
They are located in Kedoka, or you can reach us on our Facebook page, or you can call our hotline number, and I can give our hotline number.
Okay.
Our hotline number is 0734 949493. 0734 949493. That's our hotline number. You can reach us, and you should be able to benefit from some of the services that we're offering.
All right. In this line of work, Madam, with all that inspiration and focus on children, what are the challenges you have been facing in this kind of work?
Of course, like I said, there are always challenges.
Yes.
I mean, there's no any person who doesn't encounter challenges.
Yes.
The first challenge I would state is people have taken us as a primary duty bearer sometimes. So you find even when a case is being reported to the police station, you can hear police say, "E case in your repos, pelekeni repos." To understand?
Yeah.
But ideally, we're only complementing their effort. So you find people who being referred here, but we are not the primary duty bearer.
Yes.
So we usually have some of those conflicts. Or even the children officer saying, "Repos, pick this child." You know, it's almost like force.
Yes.
So sometimes they cease to own the responsibility and wants to throw it back to us.
Yes.
The second challenge that we face is there's lack of coordination among the various service delivery points.
Yes.
The police, the hospital, the DCO, the court, you find there's no very well coordinated.
Yes.
So you find some of the survivors of some of these challenges encounter. But for us as an organization, the need is huge. The need is huge. And we have very limited resources. So it becomes very hard sometimes when you're turning people away, you can't offer the service. But there's only much you can do. Yeah.
Most probably, do you have a robust program to look for resources?
We look for resources.
Yes.
I know people have asked me before. I know I've had a few young people want me to train them on how to raise funds. And I would say, I don't think I'm an expert of raising funds.
Yes.
But I think God has given us favor.
All right.
I would say God has given us favor. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Your last word to the people of Meru and Kenyans at large?
My last words, I think I'll just like to echo what I said earlier, that if God has given you a dream, step out and reach out for your dream. Don't wait to know how. If you wait to know how or how to fix it, you know, like the whole picture must come together, then you'll never step out. Thank you for having me here.
Yes.
And I want to believe we are going to have other ripples.
Yeah.
Somebody else will pick it up and have another ripple somewhere else.
Yeah, Kenyans and the people of Meru are watching. I hope they get to move this story from there.
All right.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me.
Karibu sana.
Thank you.
All right. Meru TV viewers, that has been Fireplace. Today I've been talking to the Executive Director, Ripples International, Mrs. Mercy Chidi. An inspiring story. You have been challenged to take this story from here and move your dream. With the little things that you have, you can change the world. This has been Fireplace. I've been Godfrey Mutiga. See you next time.